So, hey, my name is Travis.
And I'm Larry.
And welcome to Fatherhood.
Some assembly required.
So, today on Fatherhood, Some Assembly Required, we're going to be actually talking specifically to Larry and interviewing him and just talking with him about his experiences so you kind of get to know us, but kind of where each of us are kind of coming from. So, to begin, Larry, are you a full-time dad, part-time dad, stay-at-home dad?
I'm always a full-time dad.
This is true.
But I am a stay-at-home dad.
Okay, stay-at-home dad.
Yes.
So, how did you become a stay-at-home dad?
Well, how does one become a stay-at-home dad? Well, my work experience, I worked in finance, and during the so-called financial crunch time and everything was going away, I didn't lose my job because I know where the building's at. It's just there was no more work for me to do there. And during that time, my wife had just started back working. And when we had our first child, I figured, hey, I'll be at home, I'd take a year off, stay at home with the kid, get to know our child, because there was something that my parents couldn't do when I was coming up.
Right.
And so I decided to stay at home, maybe a year and a half. That year and a half turned into 7. My wife, she really wanted to get back involved, with work. And we thought, hey, okay, fine. We knew it was going to be a big transition. Right. I felt funny about it because I'm like, oh, I'm just at home watching the child. Like my selfish pride or being a man, wondering how people will look at me like I'm with the kid all the time. But I thought to myself, wait, I don't know, I can't think that way. Like it's my child, I'm taking care of her. Maybe I'm putting too much out there, but it started getting competitive. Like when I would tell her, like, you can't do that. When you take her out, it's a set time. Once breakfast, finish breakfast, wipe her up, talk to her a little bit, then you go for a walk.
Right.
And whatever you would like to accomplish for that day, you will be able to do it once you come back from the walk. My wife would look at me like, well, I'm the mother.
And I know what...
I gave birth to this child. Mothers have been doing this for
millennia.
Yes.
It's in us. It's in our DNA.
Just because you're at home for a whole year or two, and I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, let's see how that is. How'd that work out for her?
It started showing up when she was off of work, when she had days off, and she would go to the park. And if our child, got upset at the park or was unruly about anything, the nannies, my backup. See, when you become a stay-home dad, you get to know all the nannies, my backup. She came home one day upset that Kati was asleep. She brought Kati in, and I was making lunch for them to come back in. She sat down at the table, she wasn't speaking, she was eating. I said, what happened? Nothing happened. I'm like, well, why you seem upset? Oh, well, your friends, the nannies, just reminded me Katya doesn't behave that way when you're there as she's acting up and screaming. They're like, oh, we've never seen Katya behave that way or act that way. And then on top of that, they thought my wife was the nanny.
She was the nanny.
They thought she was the nanny.
Okay, but you have to explain to everybody, again, for anybody that may be coming in, why that was the case.
My wife is from Siberia, and I'm not. She would tell me, she said, you're doing a phenomenal job with our child. And I was like, no, we're both doing a great job with our child. And she would say, no, you're really doing a good job with the child. And I would tell her, like, no, our child latches on to both of us. Yeah. And and it was a big thing probably with disciplining our child. She felt is that since she's not there, she would just let things go. And I was like, no, babe, we just got to be structured. And I remember we had an argument which was so hilarious. She said, I don't want to be perceived as the bad parent. I'm like,
it's the bad parent syndrome. I don't want to be the bad parent. Well, you're not a bad parent. You're just a parent.
Yes.
And you have to, I know.
I'm like, so I got to be the bad parent too, and the good parent. That's gonna be confusing to her. Like one of us, we're just gonna be
one of us has got to.
We're on the equal plane. But it went through a whole bunch of situations.
Now, what was it? So I'd like to talk about that if it's okay. So you're talking about the good parent, bad parent, because excuse me, that's not. There really isn't there shouldn't be.
No.
A good parent, bad parent. You're there to back each other up.
Yes.
And, clearly, not clearly, but most of the time, if you're with the child, all the time, you'll have a better understanding of schedule, structure, what's going on. So what do you think, how do you avoid that? How did you resolve that? I mean, how did you guys kind of, is it just like, no, it's a continuing thing?
I'm going to be totally honest with you and for all you guys out there. I don't think it ever just really got resolved, but, and because it's a work in progress. But I think one of the biggest stereotypes was, with my family, was that being a black man in this world, a strong black man, you're supposed to have a job.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah, exactly.
The first year, everyone knew what I did, and was nothing said. The second year, I'm doing freelance work. It's fine. The third year, there's no work. Every time I would call home to a family member and say, hey, how you guys doing? So and so, so and so. Oh, you're doing fine. Your family's doing fine. Like my uncle. What about work? You supporting your family, right? I said, yeah, our family's okay. Everything's fine. We're living. we're eating. We're getting by. We're doing a thing. We're having a great time. I'm knowing my child.
But
it's not a but. So you start working when? It's like, or I've been called a babysitter. So you're just gonna stay home and babysit? I'm like, no, I'm the father. You don't babysit your own child. I'm the parent. I'm parenting. So that would be my low points. I would get down like, God damn it, I should be working. So my wife would come home like, look, I got to go apply for jobs. I got to put my resume out. I got to put myself back out there. And the crazy thing is that I would do that. I would like shave, put a suit on, get out, have an interview set up. And all while I would be in the interview, I would be thinking, this is the time we're walking right now. We're walking. I should be home walking with Katya.
All right, so out of all that, gone the struggles, all that, and now, what do you enjoy the most about being the type of dad that you are?
The most. I think, well, not I think, I know that I would never get this, had not I stayed at home, I would never know my child the way that I know them now, my children. And then I think about it, I kind of get emotional about it because, when you stay at home, like you get emotional, you're like, oh, I'm going to cry about everything. Is that when my child gets older, she can say, and he can say, my dad was always there when I needed him. Or if I didn't need him, he was there. He's been there with me. And so I know in a million lifetimes, no matter how, if I'm the wealthiest person in the world or whatever, that would never amount to what this 7 years and the rest of my children's lives would come up to be. Because even if, like, some of my family members still say, I can't believe, you're home. And I have like best friends back home. Like one of my best friends, he even said to me, he said, Larry, he said, man, you were great. I could not do that. He's like, your kids know you. He said, my kids know me, but they don't know me like your kids know you. And that's it. That's the best thing for me being the dad that I am, is that I've had this great opportunity to be with them all the time. And it almost has hampered me in a good way. Like I said, I turned down the job because like, man, I can't be away from my child at, at this time. Like,
well, it's become a part of you.
Yeah, like, dude, what kind of conversation am I gonna have at the water cooler? Like, everyone's talking about what they did this weekend, I'd be like, oh man, we were at the museum and my child made a mug. And people would be looking at me like, okay.
But that's cool. I'm glad that that's what you get to do. You just enjoy. They're forever memories. They're things that never can be replaced.
Never. I wouldn't trade them, for $1 million. No. But 15, 20 million, I probably would trade. After taxes.
After taxes, as long as I can.
Yeah. So, yes, I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it. Now, you could call me a babysitter or that's whatever negative term anybody can think of, and I wear it with pride and honor. Like, I'm happy.
Your dad?
Yes.
Thanks, Larry. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll have some more stuff for you guys soon, so please subscribe, and we'll check you later. Thanks.